Good evening, everyone. The time is officially 6:03, Wednesday, September 12th. I would like to officially call to order our meeting. Mike, unfortunately, looks like he's not going to be able to join us, so I'll do my best here. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Here.
Paul Jim. Here. Dennis Williams. Mitchell Allen. Here. Beasley Mike. Van Ander. Here. We have 6 present, so we do have a quorum.
Okay, first on the agenda is the approval of minutes and prior minutes. Jay, you want to go over that?
We have the minutes from the 8/8 meeting. Do we have something? It was circulated earlier. Do we have a motion on the?
What was that? I'm sorry. I'll motion. We resume the minutes as called.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have veteran suicide prevention. Most current information that I have to share with all of you this meeting is my guest speaker has confirmed that she will be more than happy to join us for our October meeting. I'll provide you the name offline. Jay? So I'll provide you the name offline as to who she is, but she will be joining us in our October meeting. Other than that, just always keeping eyes and ears open for any and all ideas on suicide prevention, new organizations. If any of you have anything that you'd like to share, certainly we would be more than happy to hear. And when I say anything, I mean anything from fundraising events to new organizations that you've heard about or things that you're involved in, please share.
Suicide Prevention Month this month as well. I know my reserve command, and maybe we could try this in the city of Lowell next year, they're doing a virtual logging 30,000 miles walking where members of the community email in their stats, and as a group they're promoting suicide awareness that way. So maybe that's something we can think of citywide next year during Suicide Prevention Month.
So it's a virtual walk?
Right, you do your own walking, either, it's on the honor system, but you could do it on, a Fitbit or whatever it is, or on the treadmill, and then every night or every week you email in your group stats, and they keep a running log of moving towards 30,000 as a community.
Oh, fantastic. I love that idea. That's different. That's new.
Yeah. We used to do like a road race, but this year they promoted that because it's actually every day that people are submitting stuff.
Excellent. Thank you.
It's different.
We'll certainly keep that in mind. I'm open to any and all ideas. Anyone else? Do we want to go into a little bit about what we spoke about last meeting regarding the events? Yes, we'll go on from that.
However you want to schedule it.
Well, let's see, new business. I guess we can introduce the guest speaker now, just in case if she needs more time.
I'm sorry?
The guest speaker. So, we'll go into welcoming our guest speaker, Gail Eldridge, this evening. I want to be able to give you ample time, as much time as you need or would like. We can certainly discuss the events and planning that we spoke about last month, should we have time later on in this meeting, but I wanted to be able to afford you as much time as you needed. Welcome, Gail.
Hi, so Eric has me listed as Eldridge, and that's fine. That's my previously married name. I go by Kavanaugh McAuliffe, which I have my business cards. I'll leave some for you. Everybody's confused. I'm the acting director for the Women Veterans Network for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So what I do, we have a steering committee, and we put on different events, and we do have cards that, you know, come into us. We used to do an email newsletter twice a year, and then that got really expensive. So right now we're exploring an e-newsletter. So to sort of keep the women updated on different things that are happening in the veteran community, the women veteran community. We do an event every year at the State House, Women Veterans Appreciation Day. So this year it's November 1st. It's at the State House. It starts at 10, it'll end at 11:30. And we also, at that event, give out the Deborah Sampson Award, which is given to a member of the community through nomination. And so we pick an outstanding woman veteran. So basically, anybody can nominate a woman veteran that they know, that they feel has done, outstanding work up and above and beyond to sort of support the women veterans community and the veteran community as a whole. And then we get all the nominations and we pick a winner from the nominations that we have. We do that every year. Last year we had a nurse from Vietnam that won the award, Jay Barrett. She also works at the VA. So, we just look for women that have gone outside their comfort zone to sort of, be part of the community and sort of bring awareness to different issues and, community involvement. And we really had it's really hard to pick the winner because we really have some outstanding women that are nominated every year. So it gets a little bit harder every year. So that event is coming up on November 1st at the State House. And then in the spring, we do a big conference, the Women Veterans Network Conference. Last year, it was at Fort Devens. We had about 300 women that came. So we have speakers and workshops throughout the day. It's a one-day event. It's free for all the women to attend. Lunch is provided. Everything is free. There were a number of providers that come out and talk about, are there on the premises to talk about their services, other, nonprofits, and just anyone that is working with our female veterans are on site usually that day. So it was a really great event. Last year was our 10th annual. This year is our 11th annual. So we're a little bit behind on the recognition and the conference. They're not the same. So I think Last year was our 9th annual, so this year will be our 10th. And then for the conference, this year will be our 11th. So it's, you know, we're always trying to bring in new women to the network, get them associated with the VA for VA healthcare. VA healthcare for women has changed a lot over the years. You know, now they have, you know, pregnancy care and fertility services and things that weren't available, you know, years ago. So we were always trying to, you know, sort of bring them in. They have an MST coordinator on site, so if there's a female that had been through, you know, a military sexual trauma, the VA has, you know, a clinician on site as well to handle those issues. So we're always trying to, you know, get the word out and bring more women into the network, because really that's how we show success, right, is by how many people we have and how many people, you know, come to our events. We do other events throughout the year. They're kind of scattered and they can be a little bit random because we're always trying different things. So we do have a film screening coming up tomorrow at the Bedford VA for Served Like a Girl, the film by Jazz Booth. So that we do things like that throughout the year as well. We have about 22,000 women veterans in Massachusetts. So the network is still really small. We're probably just over 2,000, so we're really always trying to, you know, bring new people in. And it's sort of my job to be out in the field across the Commonwealth to, you know, attend events and just bring awareness to women veterans issues. Women's veterans homelessness is on the rise, as well as women veterans suicide is also on the rise. Homelessness is a problem for women veterans because, one, there's not enough housing for women veterans as a whole. There's just not. And the other reason is because they may be the primary caretaker for small children or for children, and so they don't even like to identify as homeless because they have a fear that, you know, DCF is going to come take their kids. And so, you know, those are things that, you know, we're always trying to identify. I also work with the SAVE team, Statewide Advocacy for Veterans Empowerment. So the SAVE team, if you're not familiar with them, started back in 2007 and is basically designed to deal with veterans in crisis, suicide prevention. It's a peer-to-peer support network. We have someone on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to deal with those kind of issues. It really started from the Lucy family in Western Mass. Their son Jeff came home from the war and he was not acting, he was acting different. And they tried to get him into the VA and they tried a bunch of different things to get him help, his parents. And ultimately Jeff completed the act of suicide. And so they came and met with Secretary Kelly at the time, and that's sort of how SAVE began, because they were like, you have to do something about this. So we have peers in the trial courts, in jail diversion. We have other peers that just are on, you know, just regular peers that will go out and meet with the veterans on site. We sort of go to them. They don't have to come to us. So, you know, if they're in Lynn, we go to Lynn. If they're, you know, in Northampton, we go to Northampton. So we do have peers in Western Mass as well as here in Eastern Mass. So we always can get someone to the veteran. As I said, we do work in the jail with jail diversion and the trial courts, and we deal with veterans in crisis. We're all assist trained, and most of the team is QPR trained as well. So they've had their suicide prevention training. And, you know, some of them have been on the side where, you know, the person that they were working with has completed the act. And so, you know, we have seen that as well. So basically, when I'm not doing women veteran stuff, I'm doing SAVE stuff. Sometimes I'm doing both at the same time. I tend to run around like a crazy person, but I usually am in the office Monday through Friday. So if you can't get one of them, you can usually get me, because I'm in the office. They're doing what they do and what they're good at, and I'm the behind-the-scenes person. And so, I don't know if I can tell you anything else, or if you have any questions for me. That's sort of my role in a nutshell, and what I do. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
When you are getting ready for your awards program, how do you solicit nominations?
I mean, we do it a lot at events, but we also do it a lot through social media and through, you know, just word of mouth kind of thing. It's a challenge because I'm only one person, so I can only be so many places. So we do rely heavily on social media for that. But again, I'm happy to send out the nomination forms if anybody needs any or wants any. I'm happy to do that. And actually, I haven't sent them out to the VSOs yet, so I should do that tomorrow morning so that you guys have them.
That would be great if you would.
Yeah, so the nominations this year close October 1st, so you still have a couple of weeks to get in a nomination. They can be either faxed over to me, or you can scan them and email them to me, whatever's easier for you. But usually we do this around the September-October timeframe. I'm a little bit behind, and I apologize for that. I was on family medical leave this summer, and I had surgery, so I was out for basically the whole summer. And I just came back last week, so I'm a little bit behind on things. But I'll send the nomination forms to Eric, so he will have them, and then he, you know, if you need them, you can get one from him, or you can just call me or email me, and I'll definitely send you one. But yeah, that's kind of, or they're on our website as well. Not the website, they're on our Facebook page as well, because the website is woefully not updated, but Facebook is definitely updated, because I do that myself.
I had a question. So as you mentioned, roughly about 22,000 in the state of Massachusetts, where you're currently about 2,000. We discussed in a previous meeting amongst ourselves that, and I think it was you that brought it up about, I don't want to say, lack of a better word, but the lack of presence of women, like in such organizations like this, Veterans Commission. What do you feel is the trouble with getting women to be more involved?
Well, I think it's the same for women as it is with other veteran populations as well. I mean, it's really timing, and it's really like, so if I plan an event, there's a lot of thought that has to go into it, because it's, you know, when can you get them there, right? So that's like the biggest problem we have. When do you do it in the morning? Do you do it in the afternoon? Do you do it during the workday? Do you do it on the weekend? So there's like a lot of, you know, consideration that has to go into that, and that is always, and I've been with the department for 15 years. That's always been one of the biggest challenges, is finding the right time to, you know, try and get everybody together, because, yeah, they are veterans and they do need services, but they also have lives outside that they're trying to live. So, you know, they have kids that are in soccer or baseball, or girls that are in cheerleading or dance or whatever, or, you know, and so they're running around as well. So it's kind of, it just, sometimes it's like you just have to take the dart and just throw it at the board and hope you know, and then it's sort of marketing that time and getting the word out, you know, well in advance so that people can put it on their calendars and have it. And if it's a recurring event, then it's sort of just making it, okay, this is a recurring event and it's going to be, you know, every Thursday, every Thursday, every Thursday, every Thursday, every Thursday at, you know, 3 to 5 or 5 to 7 or whatever it is. And then to sort of not be discouraged at the beginning, because when people don't show up, people get discouraged and go, oh, nobody showed up, so, you know, we're not going to spend any more time on this. But really, it's just sort of, you have, like, everyone I talk to, and I talk to a lot of people, is that you know, you start with like maybe 1 or 2, then you get to 4 or 5, and then you get to 10 to 11, you know what I mean? So it's like a growing thing over time. And so it's, you know, it's challenging. It's always challenging, and it can be even more challenging, you know, for women, you know, just because they are a lot of times the primary caretaker for small children or even old children, whatever, just children in general. So they're, you know, doing that double duty, you know, as mom and, you know, maybe holding a job. And so their free time is pretty valuable to them, so they don't want to, you know, they don't want to give that up too easy. So it's really, really hard. And so marketing well in advance is important, as well as consistency is important as well. So there's a coffee social in Beverly at the Rocky Post up there. They've been doing that for 3 years. They started off with like 4 people, and now after 3 years, it's like 30 people. And so it's just, the idea is to not really get discouraged, and it's hard sometimes because you're like, okay, here I am by myself, like,
Right.
you know, and you're just feeling like, I can't, you know, why am I even trying this? But it really just took that core group of those gentlemen to build that up over time. And now they have, you know, they have a pretty big coffee social up there. And they actually have their own newsletter that they send out from the coffee social. Like one of the members took it on and does his own little newsletter. And so it just sort of took that amount of time.
Sure.
Like, and you just go, why would I do this for 3 years, right? Like, but honestly, that's what it really takes. And like, there's a women's group at Bedford. I think it started a year ago. I talked to the girl, the program manager over at Bedford today, and she's like, I actually have like 4 women now. Like, she's all excited. So it just, you know, it's discouraging, right? Because you put in this time and this effort, and you don't get you don't feel like you're getting the turnout that you want. But it really is just consistency and advertising and marketing, and, you know, one friend inviting another friend, and he said and she said, and so on and so on. And that's sort of how things get momentum.
Sure.
You know, and I know it can be, it's definitely challenging. So sometimes you go, oh, I had 3 people show up. I go, you had 3 people? That's a success. Like, yay. So, you know, when they have so much of their life, you know, going on, to carve out that time,
Sure.
you know, it's challenging.
Well,
It's definitely challenging.
It's still noteworthy to recognize that, you know, 22,000, yes, in comparison, it's a lot, but you still have 2,000 women, you know, so those 2,000 women can propel it into
Yeah, we
something bigger, so-
actually have a larger database than that. So I don't want to say that because we have been doing this for a long time, but, you know, we also have a lot of women that have moved out of state, and, you know, we can't get in contact with, and, you know, so it's constantly like, okay, you know, it's like a revolving, flowing system, you know what I mean, where I think we had 6,000, you know, and you go, oh, that's great, 6,000, but, you know, we send out mailings or whatever, and then they come back, it's moved, gone, you know, not here anymore, sent to the wrong sender, whatever. So it's like, it's just a constant battle to get the newer, younger veterans involved and to sort of bring them into the into the thing. So I try to, you know, I try to bring a lot of like, not silliness, because of course there are serious issues we have to address, but I also want it to be fun, you know, and then women also want things where they can bring their kids. Like they want to, you know, they'll come out on a Saturday if they can bring their kids, you know, so that's always a challenge too, because as a state entity, we can't really provide childcare because the liability is like ridiculously large. But we did an event at Christmas last year, like a women's crafting thing, and we had cookies for the kids to decorate. And that was actually pretty well received because they could bring their kids with them. So, you know, when the women can bring their kids with them and sort of incorporate them in some kind of way into the day, then I think it's easier for them.
Sure, sure.
And then, you know, on the Save side, you know, the veterans that are returning, like, they don't want to sit in a room and have like a PowerPoint and have someone telling them to sign up for they want to just go to like normal things, like normal people. They want to, you know, go to baseball games. They want to go to normal things and be considered, you know, normal, because they have the VA all around them, like, all the time saying, come to the VA, and, you know, they get it from their commanders if they're in the National Guard, and they get it from, you know, they get it all before they leave the military, and so when they're finally home, they just want to sort of feel normal and be doing things that normal people do. Like,
Sure.
And I don't mean normal in a bad way, I just mean civilian, I guess I should say.
Sure. Well, that's all great information and great ideas that you're sharing with us as I'm making some mental notes as you're speaking, because at our last meeting, we just opened up kind of a general discussion on and throwing out some ideas on an event that we're trying to work on for next year. And so as kind of a formal, informal invite to you we'd love to be able to work with you and your organization, given your experience and what you can bring to the table as far as what we can keep in mind and try to roll into, you know, our planning in such an event, and certainly have maybe a booth for your organization to come on behalf of the Veterans Commission here. I commend you personally for all the work that you do. It sounds like you do bounce around a lot and wear a lot of different hats, and so it's not easy. You're like our Eric.
Kind of, yeah. I've known Eric for a long time, so,
Right.
yeah.
So it's a lot of work, and every opportunity that I get to recognize those that really get out there and make it happen, I try to. So I commend you, and I thank you.
So I think one of the things like I always do before like a women's event or before, well, I don't really, Save doesn't really do events, but before the women's events, I always try and send out like a save the date, just a little save the date, like November 1st. I might not have all the information, you know, who's going to be my guest speaker and who's going to be in charge, you know, what we're actually going to do. But I always try and send out a save the date because, you know, at least people can mark their calendars for that day. Like, I don't know what it's going to be like, but I know that there's something going on that day that I might want to go to. So I always try and send those out because I find that to be really helpful. And I think that gives everyone an opportunity to clear their schedule for that day if it's something that they're interested in.
Sure. If I could ask you again, as Jay has, to please forward information to us, anything like a save the date,
Yeah.
any events that's coming up, or any ideas that you might have. I'm certainly open to it. I will offer you my personal email as well, and you and I can, you know, speak offline also.
Yeah, that's great.
But I thank you.
Chair,
Yeah.
I think this has been very useful, and I think there are a lot of things that we want to follow up on. And,
Yes.
So, you know, I just.
Well, I have my business cards here, so.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
One question, when is that Women's Veterans Conference?
The conference, so the conference is generally in the late spring, early summer. This year it was in May, it's been in June, so like May, June timeframe. We haven't really picked the date. yet, or the location. There'll be more information on that coming out probably after Christmas. So we're going to get through Veterans Day, and then we're going to go right into working on the conference. It's not going to be Lowell this year because we were just at Devon's last year and we were in Leominster. So I think we might head a little bit further west this year, but we would love to have it in Lowell at some point, yes. I would love to have it in Lowell because that's like a 5-minute trip for me. I just come down the highway.
Right.
I believe you.
That's why we have him on our commission.
Well, again, thank you so much for, it was very informative, and I think, it's given us some ideas that we can implement going forward, so that's great.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, next on, under new business, just a continuation of the discussion on the veterans event that we have planned for next year. Again, last meeting was really a rough draft, a rough idea of what we would like to see happen. Everyone was great with throwing out some ideas. I don't think we had anything really concrete other than voting to not go forward with, I think it was the Veterans Ball that we had initially, a couple months back, throughout sometime in the fall season. But now we'd like to move towards something bigger and have a bigger event for next year, which will give us hopefully ample time to get everything together. And so if there's anything that we would like to bring up again, anything new that we would like to add, we have certainly some time this meeting to do that. And I think that what I'd like to do is for sure set a deadline as to when this event should take place, so that way we can at least have some kind of a time frame to work with. I think we said spring, around spring.
I can't recall whether, I know that we felt that the initial timeline was a little short for us and that we should move a little further out, but I don't know if we decided anything definite.
What I have, springtime. January, February? Right. That is a good thought. I actually was thinking the opposite, considering that it is the winter and not knowing what the weather would be like. You know, New England weather, so unpredictable. We could be, slammed with a blizzard one weekend and then, right. So my main goal is to create as much presence and get as many people to come out as possible. And so anything that will promote that, I'm all for. I think that's maybe why we ended up going into the springtime. I think we might have thrown it out January, February, and then thought about it, and somebody else mentioned maybe springtime, which will give us more time, to prepare.
We had talked initially about, getting younger veterans involved. We had talked about a women's veterans initiative. Listening to the speaker, I'm just wondering, I think probably we should narrow the focus of it, at least for the first time. And I'm thinking, maybe something that we could draw on their experience and maybe have an event, honoring women warriors. And perhaps we could have a nominee coming from each of the veterans organizations, and that would bring in the veterans. And maybe it would be an evening event, similar in format to the kind of events that a Rotary Club or something like that would have, where it would have speakers and awards. And
When would you like to see this happen?
at this time,
This is not in conjunction to the event?
I'm just
Sure.
throwing it out as a concept for discussion.
Okay. It's a great idea. I'm all for that. Do we want to, let's see. One of the things that we also discussed is getting together some sort of a committee for the specific event. Do we want to at least tackle that this meeting, to get a committee together to start the ball rolling? And get some spearheads to kind of take initiative on some of the things that we'd like to tackle?
Right?
Sure. Well, I'm always open to offering and volunteering my time, kind of unpredictable with way life has it for me right now. But I'm always so it's a formal and informal vote for me that I will be on that committee. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Yeah, that's better. So I think maybe if we could get, even 3 people tentatively, just so that we can kind of keep in contact. Excellent, thank you. And we can communicate via email. I'll certainly provide you with my number if we haven't exchanged that yet, and at least get that going. So I think. Maybe May time you're thinking, right?
Yeah, we always kind of go back and forth with the dates because you have a lot of graduations in, May and June. You have weddings in June. You also have Memorial Day in May. So we struggle with the date as well. Then there's Mother's Day, and so, we do go back and forth quite a bit with the dates. I think just to not let the cat out of the bag or whatever. If we do have it where I think we're going to have it, and we do have it, it'll probably be later in June, like the 22nd. So.
Okay, that's good to me.
Yeah, any time after June is hot. It's vacation time and whatever.
Right, and then it gets too warm, it's really hot,
Right. Certainly some things to keep in mind. One of the bigger things on our agenda here is the funding for it. So if I could ask everyone to just collectively and individually generate some ideas on how we're going to approach that to make this happen. We can discuss that as well, but open to the other commissioners. If anybody has any ideas on that, that's probably going to be our biggest.
We could possibly have like a tag day type thing, maybe, that would generate something. You just got to go to City Hall, get permits, I would imagine, to do a tag. I don't know if you have to have a permit for that or not. Contact local supermarkets, Walmart, Walgreens, Target, places like that where you can do a tag day. I used to do Poppy Day, and post office is the greatest place. There's always a lot of people at a post office, and you just let people know what the cause is for, and usually you do pretty good.
Terrific. All right.
Other thing, 50/50 raffles usually help for the woman bake sales.
Yeah.
That sort of
Idea.
thing.
And I'm open to all ideas, believe me, whatever it takes. Okay, so okay, I think at least now with a more concrete idea as to where we're heading in this, should we call in to vote on that? Or do we just agree that the beginning of May is a good time frame that we're going to push forward to?
I think we don't have a quorum.
Oh, that's right, he left. So we can't vote.
But I think we should go ahead and proceed in kind of informal session and just discuss some of these issues. And I think there was a sense that we were heading toward an April-May date.
Yeah, before you know it, I mean, you gotta move quite quickly in those things, because before you know it, it's like, come December, everybody forgets about it.
Exactly, right, especially with the holidays right around the
Yeah.
corner. Okay, so we will touch base offline, exchange information, and as soon as you're available, certainly we can start the communication going on that. I'd love to get the ball rolling sooner than later on that. And again, open to all commissioners. Any and all ideas, absolutely welcome. And we will reconvene next meeting and provide what we have up to date for October's meeting. Okay. Let's see. Price. So under communications, just last here, I did open the meeting with informing all of you that I have a guest speaker coming in October, Sheena Bice, and the Douglas Road Veterans Park, which Jay will update us on.
Sorry.
For the,
I have nothing further. We were supposed to have a meeting. It was postponed, so I have no updates. It's my last one.
okay. Unless there's anything else. Not that I'm aware of.
The Greater Lowell Veterans Council, as far as I can remember, they always put on a pretty good ceremony at the Lowell Auditorium. I don't believe invites have gone out yet, but it is always on November 11th at 11. 10, I think, and then 11, they try to have the firing exactly at 11. So there's definitely a ceremony. It should be a breakfast inside. Last year, I believe it was invite only.
Yes,
With
it
veterans
was.
organizations, or you had to let them know in advance if you were coming or not. That way, because they cater, it gets catered. But there will be an event on the 11th.
Terrific. When is that? Let me see. Unless anybody else has anything.
I have we decided on Veteran of the Month, or is that, I'd like to clarify something on the Veteran of the Month. In the past, I was under the impression Veteran of the Month was a veteran within the community that actually did something for the community. Now, I know it's expanded, but how far has it expanded? Can we go to any town, or is it just Lowell, Dracut? I mean, some of the people that have been voted as Veteran of the Month, I kind of disagree with, and I wasn't here to challenge, unfortunately. But I was under the impression Veteran of the Month was supposedly for a veteran that did something for the community. And it seems like we've gone just by picking a veteran at random. And there's a lot of veterans out there that have done a lot for the community and don't get recognized. And the other thing I wanted to mention also is we have a lot of businesses out there that I've gone to, and we put notations in their stores, barbershops, or whatever, to give a 10% discount to veterans. I think those particular businesses, whoever they are, should be recognized as to what they're doing for their community and for the city. It would not only help their business, but it also would help the Veterans Commission as to what we're actually doing for the community. Because unless we do that, we won't be able to expand. We've got to let people know what our organization is about.
Absolutely.
So when is the next, when do we submit names for the next Veteran of the Month? Do you,
So I personally have two that are on board, ready to go. I have their biographies, and they are more than happy to accept it. We did get away from that, unfortunately. I think we tentatively were trying to schedule something for this month, but again, it got away from us. But the issue that we faced was not getting enough bios in, and so then I think the complication was one, getting a date. Personally, one of the vets that I nominated, she was deployed. So we put her off. We were waiting for her to come home, and she was due to be home beginning of August, but we hadn't set something for September to have it done. So as far as I'm concerned, the vets that I nominated are on board. I'm just waiting for a date. So thank you for bringing that up. I did want to discuss that to get that back on track.
right, and how far, what are the towns that we're using? Is it strictly Lowell? Is it Lowell, Dracut, Westford, Tingsboro? I mean, how far?
So initially,
I know initially it was strictly for Lowell.
yes, right.
Then they expanded it to Dracut. My personal opinion, it should be any veteran that has done something for their community.
Right.
I mean, the veteran I'm talking about doesn't live in Lowell, lives in Westford.
Right.
But he's done all kinds of stuff for the city of Lowell.
Right.
He's gone to different events, he's put up flags in cemeteries, he's done quite a bit for the city. So that particular person should be, but we need to establish what's the span? How wide do we go on this?
So that's where that gray area comes in.
Right,
That was kind of, I wouldn't say argument, but those were the opposing views. Some that were at the beginning of this initiative to do the Veteran of the Month ceremonies were all for sticking to what was set in place right from the beginning, which is keeping it strictly in Lowell, which partially, yes, I do absolutely agree with. However, as time went on, someone had brought it up about just that, a veteran that has contributed greatly to the community,
Right.
but does not reside in Lowell. So do we not
Do we
Do
not
we step
recognize
away
them?
from
Or
what
is
we-
the Veterans Commission strictly the city of Lowell, or is it part of the state of Massachusetts? That's the other thing. I mean, this could go on and on.
Right.
So we got to establish whether it stays within a certain mile radius, certain town. Is it the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, or is it just a city? You know, we have to establish that in order to make it fair for everyone. So I don't know how we go about doing that. I mean, I think it should be part of the Commonwealth. I mean, we are in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, so if you live in Westford and you've done a lot for your community, and that particular community doesn't have a commission, I mean, I don't know. Right, but right, but maybe not the state, but establish how far of a span we want to go.
Right.
Because right now, we've got people that were nominated, they're from Dracut. They're not part of the city of Lowell, but yet they have done something for Lowell, or they resided in Lowell at one time. It might have been 20 years ago.
Right.
So we need to find out how wide of a span do we need to go? Do we say within a 20-mile radius, or, you know, local communities? I don't know how you would do that.
I don't
So we
think,
need to talk to somebody as to how far we need to go with this.
right. I don't think we have anything,
I mean, do we,
I don't think we
officially
really have,
documented
and
as to what the
maybe
guidelines
we
and-
should. My memory was that at one time it was the city of Lowell, the residents and the contribution to the city of Lowell. And then I think it was changed, it was amended slightly so that you could have someone that lived a substantial part of their life in Lowell but still had the contribution to the city of Lowell. And that's my memory of where it stands now.
And also, we should establish what a person has done for the city. I mean, goes to just a veteran that's a veteran of Lowell and he becomes or is it somebody that's done something for the community? I mean, you got to establish on who's deserving of this award.
Right.
You can't have somebody that,
I think that still stands, is that if he or she is a veteran and has contributed positively to the community, I think
Right.
that's always remained one of the
right, but
requirements.
sometimes it gets out of hand and it doesn't always remain that.
Right. So I will offer and open this to you for suggestion. Maybe you and I can start that initiative to have a discussion, figure out and establish some kind of, guideline.
Do we go through the city, I mean, who do we go to talk about? A city manager or?
I think we make the decision.
Right.
So I
We
think
can make that
discuss it. I
decision.
think we discuss it and decide it among ourselves.
And then we can draft something,
Yeah,
and
we
then
should.
present it to the commission, and we'll vote, and that will be what the requirements will be
I
moving
think that's what
forward.
we should do, because right now, it's kind of vague.
Right.
And, I mean, I don't know if you people agree with me, but right now, I think it's vague as to how it's done.
Right. Now, I mean, I'm always for recognizing any vet from anywhere. I mean, they
Right, I
all
am
deserve
too, and
recognition.
That's why we need to
But we
establish
do,
that.
but we do need structure and order when it comes to
There is no
having a pro-
criteria in that
Right.
as we speak. you know.
Right, so I agree. So in our discussions regarding the event, you and I can
Okay.
discuss that, and we can draft something up and present it to the commission at a later date.
Okay, and we can also talk more about establishing community, businesses to do something for the community, like
Eric, I
these are the
think you have an
people-
ongoing list now, right? And then we can add to that.
I have a list, and it's part of, I have a new form and a new format that I'm going to present to my supervisor on Friday, and just a different, trying to go at it at a different angle with this initiative to try to, get some businesses involved. And then and that is part of it on the questionnaire that we've developed. It asks the business if they are okay with having their name posted on our website and mentioned in our meetings. I mean, I don't want to do anything to upset any local businesses or.
No,
I mean,
exactly.
I figured that form will get authorization, and then it's just trying to bring awareness to what we're doing with the business. So I want to get permission first with this, and that's why I just wanted to give it. I'll be able to have an update at the next meeting, but I wanted to. That's something I'm working on, but that's my goal, is to put them all on the website.
Excellent.
And the other
And
thing
again,
now,
announce them here every time. I mean.
now, these meetings we have, this is open to anybody, they can come to it.
Yes,
And the more people we get to come and see, to attend our meetings, the more people know what we do.
absolutely.
So that would be, because I never see hardly anybody, so if the public knows what's going on,
Yes,
you'll get more of a fanfare, so to speak, or
absolutely, absolutely. Yep. Excellent. Thank you again. I appreciate you bringing that up. We do need to get back on track with the Veteran of the Month ceremonies, and maybe as we're coming near on time here, for October's meeting, get a date for, say, possibly November, for a Veteran of the Month ceremony. And if it's just recognizing those two veterans, I'd like to do so, just so that we can get back on track with that.
I'll ask the mayor's office, but I do request that, it's just a suggestion that if we are going to nominate someone, we already have their bios submitted once we nominate them. That'll make,
Right.
it'll make it easier for the whole process. I mean, the last time they were doing all the bios
Lot of
that
scrambling
night,
last
and it just made it difficult.
Right. And that's what caused part of the delay too, is waiting for all the bios and we weren't sure who had